So today we're going to talk about the imploding Democratic Party. There is so much chaos going on right now in government. If they don't get it together in Congress and come to an agreement, there could potentially be a government shutdown as soon as tomorrow. And then there is a deadline to like increase the debt ceiling, and that needs to happen very, very soon as well. I think in 2 to 3 weeks. So we're going to get into this. I came across this article from PBS News, and it's titled "The Four Issues Democrats Are Trying to Resolve in Congress." Excuse me, the four issues Democrats are trying to solve in Congress. Okay. And so that's from pbs.org. So we're going to get into that. And then y'all already know that I got to go over to yesterday's press briefing from the White House with Strawberry Shortcake. That's who she is today. Today she's Strawberry Shortcake. Jen Psaki, the Biden administration's White House press secretary. So we're going to listen to some sound bites from that. But it seems like the Democratic Party is imploding. I see y'all coming into the Lioness Den. Make sure you hit the like button and share this broadcast. Y'all already know we're here weekdays at 12 p.m. Eastern time. We have an exclusive interview that will air tomorrow. We had to reschedule it at the behest of the guest, but we are definitely going to have that. And so that is already preset. Shout out to Motown House. And that's exactly where I was going. We're going to do this copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. So, yeah, my brother's in the house, my B1 scholar. This is our brother Christopher Ellis. Yeah, Strawberry Shortcake. Little Orphan Annie, Strawberry Shortcake, Raggedy Ann. You know, we got a lot of names for her. Yes, that's right. I was trying to remember what Tamika Brown said. Peppermint patty. So we're going to get into some sound bites from Jen Psaki or Psaki, Jen Psaki, because they were socking it to her. However, I have been watching this lady's press conference, this woman's, individuals, whatever, it's press conferences from the White House, these press briefings. And let me tell y'all something. She is one of the, in my opinion, she's one of the best that has ever done it. I'm so serious. The way she slips and slides and dodges these questions, and the way she claps back in that very like nasty, you know, like white woman way. Oh, it's Tamika. Okay, got you, sis. She's one of the best that ever does it. And then when they ask questions that are sort of like unclear, she needs context, she knows how to wiggle her way, and she knows how to stick to the same talking points. So I'm actually learning a lot from Strawberry Shortcake. So we're going to listen to some more Strawberry Shortcake, but let's go ahead and get into this, y'all. Make sure y'all hit the like button and share this broadcast. And I do want to remind y'all, get your tickets to the All Black National Convention. Go over to allblacknationalconvention.com. That's allblacknationalconvention.com in Orlando. And it's the 6th annual one from October the 29th to November the 1st. Shout out to Duel. All right. We don't have a lot of time today, so let's get into this. Now, this article, again, as I stated before, it's from PBS News, and I just put the link in the chat. If you're watching this replay at a different time, you can definitely come over to flynubianqueentv.com, which is the YouTube channel, and then find the live stream comments, and then you'll find the links to the articles that we're putting in. So today we're probably just going to work with this one because it's a lot here. And if I do have any other links, I'll reference them. The four issues Democrats are trying to solve in Congress right now. Okay. Now this is from, September the 29th, 2021. Okay. At 10:13 a.m. So this is brand new. All right. It says, calling them the four winds, the four bulls, maybe the four horsemen. Did y'all catch this? This is the subtitle. Hold on right quick. Let me do this right quick. Okay, listen to this. Calling them the four winds, the four bulls, maybe the four horsemen, Democrats in Congress are wrestling with four sweeping national nation changing and trickery issues simultaneously. And it's going to name the issues. Now, the four horsemen or the four bulls or the four winds, they all refer to stuff like the four horsemen, like biblical stuff and all types of stuff. So there's imagery and allegory there, right? However, I specifically also chose this particular image to complement the article. This image did not come from the article. So do you have Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, Vice President Kamala Harris, and President Joe Bill Biden, right? When I see these four, I'm thinking four winds, four bulls, maybe four horsemen. But anyway, I digress. So these are the four issues. These are the four issues, and I will be putting them in the chat for our review. Now, the first one the article talks about is government funding due to run out on Thursday. What's today, y'all? What is today, y'all? What is today? Oh, is today Wednesday? Is today my Mercury day? Is today Wednesday? If you're a Astrology for Life student, you understand what I mean by that. But today is Wednesday. So the first one is government funding due to run out on Thursday. The second one is the debt ceiling, which will reach in the next 2 to 3 weeks. The national debt ceiling. Y'all hit the like button and share this broadcast. People probably did not get notified, but that's all right. They can watch the replay. Now, number 3, the article list, and this is what they are working on really, really hard. The $3 trillion infrastructure bill, which has already passed the Senate. Okay, so Democrats are trying to work through this as well. And then the fourth one, or the fourth horseman, is this one, y'all. And I'm putting these up and I'm flashing them on the screen so we have them for our review. Y'all can go back and continue to look at them. This one is the larger Build Back Better bill, which would dramatically shift how the nation and families handles childcare, drug prices, and climate change, among other issues. So these are the things that has Congress split. They going back and forth. Biden is trying to negotiate. A lot of closed door meetings. And what the hell is happening now? The crazy thing is that a lot of these, yes, it is Wednesday. A lot of these issues, again, one, government funding due to run out on Thursday. That is a high priority. 2, the debt ceiling, which will reach in the next 2 to 3 weeks. 3, the $1 trillion infrastructure bill, which is already passed in the Senate. And 4, the larger Build Back Better bill, which would dramatically shift how the nation and families handles childcare, drug prices, and climate change, among other issues. These 4 issues, these 4 horsemen, so to speak, or 4 bulls or 4 winds, are very polarizing. So not everybody, even in the Democratic Party, is agreeing on what their party's position is or how these senators and representatives are going to vote on these issues. They are split within the party on all of these issues. And then in addition to that, already how what the beef has been in this 2-party system with the stance that Republicans usually take on this stuff. Thank you so much for putting that in the chat as well, Dual. And shout out to Motown House. So, yep, there is a Mercury retrograde right now in Libra. Absolutely, that is definitely happening. And we know Mercury is the planet that rules the influences of communication. So any type of communication, whether it's verbal communication, especially written communication, text messages, things kind of get, wrapped up in a ball. And because I do study astrology, shout out to my teacher, Malik Deshawn. Y'all can follow him at Renaissance Man 8000 on IG. Thursday is going to be this September the 30th. When I'm looking at the birth card and the planetary ruler card for that day, it's a 7 of hearts and a 5 of spades. So that's a whole different conversation. So we'll see what happens tomorrow in terms of, in terms of the deadline. But I wouldn't be surprised if there could be a government shutdown. I wouldn't be surprised if there could be a government shutdown. Now, the other thing that I do know is that in the District of Columbia, you already know DC is not a state. DC is not a state. It is federal territory. However, we do have a city government, right? Which is DC government. It's not run by the federal government, but everything else, this is federal territory. So, Representative Congresswoman Eleanor Holmes Norton, who has been in her seat since I was a child. I got an actual award from her for community service when I was in high school, because I did hundreds of hours of community service around the city. Y'all know I've been about this life and about this work for a long time. But anyway, she has been the #1 champion for DC statehood, and she has written more bills in Congress than any representative ever. So she's constantly writing bills and getting policies pushed through. But again, it's DC taxation without representation. I say all of this to say she gave an update earlier this week, I believe it was on Monday, and in statements, she wanted to be clear that DC has gotten money in its budget from the federal government in the event that there is a government shutdown. And so she has assured the Washingtonians and the people of Washington, D.C., the nation's capital, that in the event that the federal government has a shutdown, D.C. government will still be open, because she's budgeted for that, right? So like people aren't going to lose work or anything like that work for the D.C. government. So I wanted to put that out there, but we don't know what's about to happen. So y'all hit the like button and share this broadcast. We are in here. We're talking about the imploding Democratic Party. And right now, this article is talking about the 4 issues the Democrats are trying to solve in Congress. Okay. Now, it says, as I write, the government funding bill is the least tangled of the group. As soon as today, Democrats expect to start moving on a bill to fund the government until early December. But listen, we're stepping into October. Funding the government until early December, that's not even a long time. So we could potentially be in this situation again where the government could shut down. And when the government shut down the last time, y'all remember in 2019, that joint was closed. Wasn't the government, it was shut down for weeks. So it says the debt ceiling is the most tangled issue, the most complicated one, where that's most polarized and it's most tangled, according to this article. Y'all hit the like button and share this broadcast. It says Republicans refuse to vote for any increase in the debt ceiling, while saying that they want one because they argue the burden should be on Democrats alone to figure out how to do it. Democrats do not have the Senate votes to pass this through normal 60 vote means, however, and thus far do not want to use a reconciliation procedure that could allow them to raise the debt ceiling on their own with a simple majority. The off-ramp to this looming crisis is hard to see and may not even exist yet. So let's talk about the middle 2 issues, infrastructure and the Build Back Better bill. Infrastructure and the Build Back Better bill. Now I'm going to open up another link and we'll get to that in just a second. It says House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has pledged to hold a House vote on the infrastructure bill on Thursday. That would be final passage of the bill, which has already cleared the Senate. However, House progressives, those are progressive Democrats. Progressive, that's AOC and them. However, and so, there's different levels to the political spectrum, right? So there's, liberal Democrats, there's moderates, and there's progressives. We would consider Joe Crime Bill Biden to be a moderate, which more so leans on, is not too liberal, is not too far on either side. It's basically in the middle. It's basically like status quo, business as usual. And in our opinion, moderates actually have a lot in common with conservatives. They take very, very conservative stances on issues, which to me signals how Joe Crime Bill Biden has been so successful in terms of his political career and longevity in politics, meaning that clearly he's not a successful individual politician. However, he must have been doing something right and successfully to be in DC and Congress for 4 or 5 decades. So it says, however, House progressives are rebelling and say they will not vote for the infrastructure bill and Build Back Better bill until the reconciliation measure passes. So that's a whole nother article that's linked in here. Now, just so we're clear, turn that down. Climate, drug prices, childcare, and other issues at stake and reconciliation rift. So this is a rift that's happening. This is why I'm like, okay, is the Democratic Party imploding? And what does imploding mean? Before I get back to that article, I just put the link in. To implode. Implode is a verb meaning collapse or cause to collapse violently inwards, like to collapse from within. To me, it seems that the Democratic Party is collapsing from within. Another definition for implode, end or fail suddenly or dramatically, right? To end or fail suddenly or dramatically. Now, AOC and them is trying to pull some chess moves, and they're like, we ain't voting for this stuff unless you meet our demands. Y'all hit the like button and share this broadcast. You're tuned in and tapped into the Lioness Den. I'm your sister, Lioness Crowned. I will be holding class tonight over at flynubianpower.com. Go over to flynubianpower.com and join us for Unapologetic Black Power with Lioness Crowned. Shout out to all of my B1 scholars in the house. Okay. All right. And I see y'all comments. Yep. Thank you so much, Dual. So this is the article that I just put in. It says climate, drug prices, childcare, and other issues at stake in reconciliation rift. It is a crucial day, and this was written last evening, September the 28th at 6:45 p.m. Eastern Time. It is a crucial day of negotiations on both sides of Pennsylvania Avenue in Washington, D.C., where Democrats are working around the clock to pass two significant bills on infrastructure and major Democratic priorities in a reconciliation bill. Capitol Hill correspondent Lisa Desargindes joins Alma, someone else, and there has a full transcript there, basically, right? Full transcript. It says, let me explain what's going on here. This is what Lisa says. As we reported, the infrastructure bill has long been connected to that larger, we call it reconciliation package. That's how they want to pass it in the Senate. And Speaker Nancy Pelosi has said she would take a vote on the infrastructure bill Thursday. However, she has an all-out rebellion from progressives who think if that happens, it will jeopardize that reconciliation bill. So we saw this statement today from progressives. This is what AOC and them said. It says, Pramila J. Powell, someone we have talked to on here on the show, reiterated, doubled down on the statement saying, quote, we will only vote for the infrastructure bill after passing the reconciliation bill, end quote. That then was bolstered by Senator Bernie Sanders, one of the top progressives in this country. He came out and said today, we thought we had a deal that the two would only go together. He told people not to vote for the infrastructure bill this Thursday. So Democrats have been trying to get this infrastructure bill. Republicans already had an issue with it. And now you got AOC, Bernie Sanders, and these progressive Democrats in Congress like, oh, we're going to sit on our hands right quick. So there's a lot of stuff that's going on, okay? It says, how do they get the reconciliation bill moving forward? First, they need to figure out how big it's going to be. There's a real dive under that, and we're watching two key senators. Everyone is watching them. Senators Kristen Sinema and Joe Manchin. They are moderate Democrats like Joe Biden, y'all, who have said that $3.5 trillion, the $3.5 trillion number for of kind of gross spending in this is too large for them. So they're saying that $3.5 trillion is too much for this infrastructure bill, right? So there's a lot of stuff in here, and I've been trying to look at and keep up with this conversation, but they've been going back and forth about this infrastructure bill for a minute. Now, another thing is, this reconciliation package. I mean, I know Biden is saying that they're trying to get funding for childcare, lowering drug prices or medication prices, elder care, and those sorts of things. So a lot of these questions came up yesterday, definitely in the White House press conference. And of course, y'all already know, your girl was turning up. Let me share a different picture. And in the meantime, in between time, I want y'all to make sure you hit the like button and share this broadcast. You are tuned in. Oh, I turned my camera off. Tuned in and tapped into The Lioness Den. I'm your sister, Lioness Crown, and we invite you to come over. Okay, there we go. To the allblacknationalconvention.com. That's allblacknationalconvention.com, and be there or be square. Who called me while I was on the air? So, Lil Orphan Annie, aka Strawberry Shortcake, aka Peppermint Patty, was taking questions at the press conference yesterday, and it was very interesting. Let's take a listen.
He spoke with several authors for their books about the former president. Does President Biden think that's appropriate?
I'm not going to make an evaluation on that from here. Obviously, the chairman it makes his own decisions about that.
Does the White House not have to sign off anytime an SAO, senior administration official, speaks to the press?
We certainly give people advice on.
So I remember this question. This is a question about people who have been really close to the president, writing books, and the reporter's like, do y'all support this? Are they supposed to be doing that? Or not? Or not? All right, so let's bring it. Let's go forward a little bit
on what people are writing about and whether it's constructive for them to engage with it. But individuals do make a range of decisions.
Did you advise him before
keeping troops on the ground? What the Taliban's intentions were, what the impact was of the deal that was struck by the prior administration directly with the Taliban that released 5,000 Taliban fighters into Afghanistan without the engagement of the Afghan government. Those are all the repercussions and the impact. And yes, they gave their advice as they should, and then they implemented the president's decision.
So knowing that the president gets to make this decision, knowing he may have to make further decisions going down the line. So not looking at the history, but I think the public wants to know if the generals and military advisors give advice, how will the president use and process that? And how will he talk about it publicly?
So interestingly, there were so many questions that she got yesterday regarding a hearing that took place about the decision to pull those troops out of Afghanistan and who advised the president. Now, some of the advisors to Joe Crime Bill Biden on that issue, right? Some of those advisors, their identities have been revealed. So they'll say this person, this defense secretary, this person advised the president. However, there are also people who were instrumental in advising or having conversations with Biden that we don't know about. And the White House is holding their names. And so there were like at least 10 reporters. Well, it felt like 10 to me, maybe not. But so many questions and so much time devoted to yesterday's press conference. They want answers. They want to know, don't you think the American people need to know who was advising the president and helped to make this decision to pull these troops out of Afghanistan the way that they did? And so, Jen Psaki definitely danced around that question a lot. So let's hear her response to this one.
That matters to the public. Did the president convey accurately what these generals were saying to him?
He conveyed in the interview? In what aspect?
Well, in the interview, and then going forward, can they understand how the president will use that kind of information when we see there's a conflict between what the generals were saying and the president's public statements with respect to Afghanistan?
Well, the president made clear that the advice was split. He didn't outline what every individual conveyed to him in private advice, as I don't think anyone in the American public would expect. Obviously, they're testifying before Congress.
So
they're answering questions accurately. They're providing more detail on their advice, as they should. That's how that process works, and as they should. I think what the American people should know is the president is always going to welcome a range of advice. He asks for candor. He asks for directness. And in any scenario, he's not looking for a bunch of yes men and women. And what that means is that ultimately, he's going to have to make the decision about what's in the best interest of the United States. If there's conflicting advice given, by necessity, some people's advice will not be taken.
But so what is the White House's reaction to some other aspects of General Milley's testimony? He said, among other things, that it was a mistake for two successive American presidents to have a date-based or date.
They were grilling her about the hearing that took place yesterday, and they want to know what the hell happened with Afghanistan. So that is like big news, right? So the other thing, let's fast forward a little bit. I only have like maybe 10 more minutes on air, and I do have a hard stop. I tried to push something back, but look.
To the Afghans and to our allies. And since the time of the
Now, one thing that I will say that she said boldly, she said it was time for us to pull troops out of Afghanistan. The other administration, meaning the Trump administration, said that that's what they wanted to do as well. And he said that the Biden administration, definitely, Biden was clear that he did not want to send more American children over there to fight a war in Afghanistan, that the Afghans refused to fight themselves. She said that directly yesterday. Okay, she said we refuse to keep sending troops and fighting a war that went on for 20 years that Afghans refuse to fight themselves. And to me, with that show, it was like, oh, okay, so yeah, that's definitely how WS white supremacy works, because it's like, and I think somebody else made this point. I don't know if I was talking to my brother, Great Black Shark, or someone else, is that like, if you're like, no one's gonna come to your aid. You know what I'm saying? Not long term, and especially if it's not within your interest. And so when she said that, the Biden administration specifically takes the position that we are not going to fight a war that Afghans wouldn't fight themselves, it's time to come home. And so that is, I guess that's the way business is run. It's really, really interesting because America has allies, but that allyship only goes so far. And I thought that it was really, really blunt and bold of Little Orphan Annie to say that yesterday.
Withdrawal, we worked to get 100 countries together to unite in an effort to make clear that the international community's expectations, what they are, of the Taliban-led government. That shows the United States still has power, still has trust, still has close partnerships in the world, even as it relates to Afghanistan. What was the first part of your question?
General Milley specifically said that he believed it was a mistake for there to be date-certain withdrawals versus conditions-based. He said that was a lesson he learned. Does the president agree with that? Does this White House acknowledge that it was a mistake? And is there any, not to say second-guessing, but is there any thought that perhaps a mistake was made?
So, oh no,
Sure.
What did I just do? Oh, he was just asking a great question and I wanted to pause it. But he was basically saying, does the White House acknowledge that a mistake was made or something could have been done differently? And of course, she could not say yes.
Little time in these discussions.
Where was it? Where was it?
Well, he later made clear and clear.
August 25th, is that true?
Say that one more time.
And agree with that? Does this White House acknowledge that it was a mistake? And is there any, not to say second-guessing, but is there any thought that perhaps a mistake was made?
In which piece? When did we set a deadline for withdrawal? You're talking about September 1st?
She couldn't answer.
The general said that the two successive American presidents made the mistake of setting dates. So this president had first September 11th, and then he adjusted to August 31st. General Milley indicated that was a mistake.
Well, to be clear, we had a May 1st timeline with no plan. We had a deadline and no plan for withdrawal that we walked into when the president was inaugurated and took office. The September 1st timeline was based on the recommendations of the military and on the timeline needed to operationally, effectively, and safely withdraw our troops once the president made the decision to withdraw our troops. So it's not the same thing.
I do want to ask you one more question. General Milley also said that he wasn't asked about whether to keep troops on the ground until August 25th. Is that true?
Say that one more time.
Well, General Milley said he wasn't asked by the president whether to keep troops on the ground until August 25th.
Past September 1st?
Past September 1st, I suppose that was the question, but can you confirm?
Well, the context of that's pretty important, isn't it?
Sure. So what more context can you add?
Well, I'm saying that because when you say August 25th, people would infer that to mean that he wasn't asked for his point of view on what our approach should be until then. That's not accurate. There were ongoing daily discussions in the Situation Room where the president asked for advice, for viewpoints from the military, from his national security team about how we should proceed as it related to August 31st. That's no secret. We made that clear, certainly at the time. I'd also note that during the testimony, General.
Well, she's explaining. She thinks really quickly off the top of her head. She definitely pushed him on context and was like, what are you talking about? And she does that quite often. But I also notice her body language, her tone and stuff when she talks to definitely white men. I feel like they trigger her. And then definitely, it's more like a sister girl dynamic between her and white female reporters. But then when Black women ask questions, she is like really nasty and cutthroat, or she tries to be, but she don't try that with April Ryan. Okay. But anyway, let's get back to listening to her response to this particular question on Afghanistan. And then as the press conference goes on, they talk about infrastructure bill and the chaos that is in Congress right now.
Millie also.
Either way, this administration is not looking good. Right? I've already told you the 4 things that Democrats are trying to fix or solve in Congress right now as we speak, and these deadlines are looming. And if they don't meet these deadlines or resolve this stuff, or Congress doesn't get it together, clearly there could be a government shutdown and all of these things. And on top of that, international policy with the U.S., the U.S.'s international policy and how they're perceived in the international community has been greatly impacted by and compromised by, arguably, the Joe Bill Biden administration. And how many months has he been in office? Has it been what has it been? 8 months? 8 months now or something? So this is really interesting, right? We're asking, is the Democratic Party imploding? I argue that it is. But from so many different ways. And remember, the president is basically the leader of the party. Like, they put that person in office. This is a Democratic run administration, for the entire United States of America. And it's just really messy right now. And this is what many of y'all who may be watching live or watching at another time, this is what many Black fear-based voters or brainwashed voters or nonsensical voters voted for, right? The so-called lesser of 2 evils. This is what we're dealing with. Y'all tapped into the Lioness Den. Make sure y'all hit the like button and share this broadcast.
To make clear that we would have gone to the war with the Taliban had we not withdrawn before by September 1st. That was also advice he gave privately. Go ahead.
Thank you, Jen. A quick question on energy prices. Oil prices have reached $80 a barrel, first time in 3 years. There is an energy crisis underway.
Energy crisis. I think oil has reached a really high amount. So this is a question that comes up there. And then also climate change is also something that comes up. This is a question about the energy crisis. What's going to be done about that? What does the White House press secretary say in response to that?
China, UK, Europe, we understand from the White House that you are monitoring the situation. What in the near term is the White House doing to ease pressure on the market? Are there any conversations that you are having with OPEC or you're planning to have with OPEC that you can tell us a little bit more about? And we also know that Jake Sullivan is in Saudi. He's planning to meet with MBS. Although that is about Yemen, does he plan to bring this up during that meeting?
Well, we continue to speak to international partners, including OPEC, on the importance of competitive markets and setting prices.
So at this point, I just want to note for y'all, because I'm going to have to go pretty soon. I did push my appointment back for another 10 minutes at least, but I'm going to have to go. Look, at this point, just so you know, the White House press secretary is now reading a statement. She's reading a statement on the energy crisis. So there's an energy crisis that's going on with the number, the amount of like the price of oil per barrel and all of this stuff, and negotiating with other countries such as Yemen and other countries that have oil and stuff like that. OPEC, the organization, that particular organization. And so instead of her answering that particular question off the top of her head, she had to prepare a statement that she's now reading from. I just wanted to name that. She's not clapping back. She's reading an actual statement that comes out, the position from the White House, so that nothing is left for interpretation.
And doing more to support the recovery. We're obviously monitoring, as you've already alluded to. And I would note that last month, our NEC director, Brian Deist, also sent a letter to FTC Chair Lena Khan asking the FTC to use all of its available tools to monitor U.S. gasoline market and address any illegal conduct that might be contributing to price increases. The FTC responded, committing to take specific actions to identify, deter, and investigate. I'd also note that Jake Sullivan also put out a statement at the time, which you referred to. The engagements he has.
So she's like trying to explain all of that stuff, right? But clearly they know that we have an energy crisis, and the way that question is handled, it's done with precision, right? Because that could create a bigger crisis. And, if she says anything, or if they say anything that's like unclear, you're trying to negotiate the price of oil, for example. Now, another thing that came up in the press conference yesterday, that there was an African, I believe an East African reporter, and the brother actually asked her, he asked the White House press secretary, how is it, or why, it was like, we know that the president of Ghana and another African nation came to DC and to the White House. And this was the first time that an African leader has come to visit since Biden got in office. However, why didn't Biden himself meet them and welcome them? Why did y'all send Vice President Kamala Harris? And I was like, shout out to the African brother for asking that question and putting him on the spot. So that's also in this particular press conference. If I can, it's kind of towards the end. If I can find it, I definitely will. But notice how Joe Biden himself, he personally met with the president or the leader of India and other countries when they have come here. He didn't send Vice President Kamala Harris there. He personally came, and then how or why is it that he couldn't come to receive these African leaders?
I have a couple of questions on Ethiopia, and then Zambia and Afghanistan.
And then there was something of the first question that this man asked, this African reporter asked, was about some policy, a crisis happening in Ethiopia and stuff like that. And the Biden administration said that they were going to try to get people to negotiate to sort of end the conflict over there. But now listen to this. This is what we want to hear.
This issue deserves continued attention.
And, last week, the White House was hosted for the first time two African presidents, the president of Ghana, President Akufo-Addo, and the president of Zambia. Was anything achieved during those
Ghana and Zambia?
Those meetings, and why were they not received by the president himself?
And why were they not received by the president himself since
he received the Prime Minister of India?
He received the Prime Minister of India,
Japan and Australia.
Joe Bill Biden specifically and directly met with and received the Prime Ministers of India, Japan, and Australia. However, when the Prime Minister / presidents of Zambia and Ghana showed up, he sent Vice President Kamala Harris. What does the press secretary have to say about that? And then we about to roll.
Why were they not received in the same way?
No, that's not she. And then she puts on the, why were they not received in the same way? Like, she's so damn concerned. She knows exactly what he was asking. Why didn't Biden personally welcome them and meet with them when they came to the U.S.? Why did you send sister girl Kamala Harris?
The president himself. They were received by the vice president.
Oh, sure. Look, first of all, I would say that the president is absolutely committed to our relationships with Africa and calling out issues where we have concern, but also looking for places we can work together. Having the Vice President of the United States have these high-level meetings shows the commitment of the Biden-Harris administration to these relationships and to having open and constructive dialogues. And hopefully the leaders who were here will take it as exactly that. I just have to jump. I'm sorry, and I just got to jump around because I got to get some more people. Karen, go ahead.
Part of the labor department, the child care industry is.
Did y'all catch that? Did y'all catch that? My screen was dancing because she was dancing. All right. She just said that we are committed to these relationships. We really care about, our relationships with these countries. And then she was like, okay, I got to jump around, go to another part, take another reporter from a different part of the room. Craziness. Okay. She said absolutely nothing. She would not give a straight answer as to why Biden didn't meet with these African leaders, but why he met with the Japanese leader, the Indian leader, and the Australian leader. Okay. Now, in the middle of this conference, 5 minutes exactly, there were some questions about the infrastructure bill and all of that stuff. So
no, I wouldn't say that. I would say he is hearing from a range of members on what they're comfortable with. That's part of the discussions right now.
All right, here we go. Listen to this.
Reconciliation, one more.
Reconciliation.
Has the president given a top line number to members of Congress that he would accept that's less than $3.5 trillion?
The president always knew it would be a compromise. That's why he's been engaging with and listening to a range of members on their points of view. Some have expressed publicly that they're not comfortable with 3.5, even though costs $0. But I'm not going to speak on their behalf of what they're advocating or negotiating with each other. The president's just looking to unite the party to get across the finish line.
Sounds like he has given a number then.
No, I wouldn't say that. I would say he is hearing from a range of members on what they're comfortable with. That's part of the discussions right now.
And then President Obama said on ABC about the border.
President Obama or President Biden?
President Obama.
Okay.
On ABC said immigration is tough. This was an interview that aired on Good Morning America.
Got it. Yes.
Immigration is tough. It has always been because on one hand, I think we're naturally a people that wants to help others. At the same time, we're a nation state. We have borders. The idea that we can just have open borders is something that, as a practical matter, is unsustainable.
Now, interestingly, what this reporter is doing, shout out to Candace DeLeo, shout out to Beware, I see you. Interestingly, Obama, some people call him No-Obama, some people call him No-Obama, has been making statements about the border. Okay. And some of those statements about the border have not necessarily been in alignment, or they are kind of questionable in terms of like the position that the Biden administration is taking. And so again, we are highlighting there's a lot of things that are going on. Yeah, Babylon is definitely falling and the Democratic Party is imploding. It is collapsing from the inside. Now let's go ahead and listen to this soundbite and then we about to peace out. Y'all hit the like button and share this broadcast.
Does President Biden agree with President Obama that open borders is unsustainable?
We don't have open borders. So yes, he agrees.
We don't have open borders. She said we don't have open borders. So yes, he agrees.
Did the White House have any discussions with ABC or President Obama about the content of that interview?
Not that I'm aware of. Obviously, the current president, the former president are friends and they engage on a regular basis, but I'm not aware of any conversations.
And I wanted to ask about Secretary Mayorkas yesterday.
So yeah, there y'all have it. She's trying to protect these people as much as possible and keep things under wraps, right? Time will tell says that the border is wide open. This is really interesting. Now, Great Black Shark says, I like that she's back in this position. Psaki is an excellent component of white supremacy study. No pimp has a mouthpiece as slick as hers. Listen, this woman, y'all, she is one of the best that ever done it. Trying to tell you. And guess what? Her little tactics of how she dances around questions and how she just definitely like doesn't answer or she deflects and use all of the things that you're taught in like debate class or, how to like form an argument, answer questions or not, PR statements. She is very, very skilled. She is very, very skilled with keeping up with the FUCKERY and concealing it for this administration. So again, I encourage you all to get involved with listening to these policy conversations and these daily White House press briefings. I'm telling y'all, it's my new guilty pleasure. I'm all over it, right? But remember the 4 issues they're saying, and I'm leaving. It says the 4 issues Democrats are trying to solve in Congress right now as we speak. Today. 1, government funding is due to run out on Thursday, which is tomorrow. 2, the debt ceiling, which will reach in the next 2 to 3 weeks if they don't get it together or raise the debt ceiling. 3, the $1 trillion infrastructure bill, which has already passed the Senate, and 4, the larger Build Back Better bill, which would dramatically shift how the nation and families handles childcare, drug prices, and climate change, among other issues. So we are going to keep our thumb on the pulse of what's happening politically in this country and all things policy, and always ways in which these things may impact us as codified melanated people. Right. So I love you all so much. I have to go. It is exactly 1:10 p.m. Eastern time on the dot. Please join us tomorrow. We have a very important segment with a brother named David Robinson. His son Daniel has been missing for 3 months in Arizona, and he's going to talk about his process of searching for his son who is still missing. We are praying that he is found safe and alive. And also the brother is going to, speak to the larger issue. I have questions about the larger issue of missing Black people in general and the lack of support and resources that we get from law enforcement, other agencies, and things like that when our folks go missing versus, white women and children and white men who go missing. All right. I really appreciate you all. Thank y'all for stopping by, and the line is dim. If you see anything else about policy updates, feel free to comment under this video. And don't forget, we are doing the 3 for 3 challenge. Let's start that off on the first day of October. If you tuned in and you listened to the norovirus broadcast, we said that we're going to start cooking at home 3 times a day, at least for 3 weeks, preparing our own food, right? So go back and catch those details in that broadcast. All right. Remember to get your tickets to the All Black National Convention and join us tonight for Unapologetic Black Power over at flynubianpower.com, 6 p.m. Eastern time. Thank you all. This broadcast is ending, but so is global racism and white supremacy. We will trample this beast through fortitude, preparedness, and collectivism. And always remember that they stole us, they sold us, so they owe us. Until next time, family, peace and Black power.